Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Karen Buitrago. Karen
Mhm.
is a sales professional for a business called Endress and Hauser and a sales engineer. Hails originally from South America and now lives up in Brisbane, Australia, and is doing a great job for her profession. And yeah, she's a connection of mine, and I've been trying to get her on for a while. We've managed to get her on, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her today, finding out exactly how she's getting on in the role, finding out a bit more about the instrumentation space, and also her journey, moving from South America to setting up a new life here in Australia. So, Karen, with that introduction, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Morning, Joe. Thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, I'm happy to be here sharing my experience.
Great to have you on. So let's kick it off. Let's talk about the present. You're currently a sales engineer for Endress and Hauser. You recently made that sort of step up. I think end of last year from an internal sales professional to an external sales
Mhm.
engineer. Just tell me a bit about the nature of the role, how you've got on with that progression, and just a little bit about your sort of typical day in that role.
Okay, sure. So basically, I started my career in Endress. It was 2019 when I joined this company, instrumentation industry. My background in Colombia was chemical engineering, also working for another company with same focus. So when I joined Endress, I had this previous sales experience and I started in Endress as internal sales. In Colombia, I used to do external sales. Here, when you start again your professional life, you gotta maybe go a bit lower the level. You came back from Colombia. So I was happy, of course, to join this company, even though it was not external sales. I joined as an internal, but of course, my goal was in a future by that time to be in I don't know, I will say like 5 years after or so, being able to be external. So now I transitioned exactly 7 months ago to the external role. So yeah, it was a progress in the industry in Australia and also in Endress. And of course, you need to believe in the process. So when I joined Endress, I learned a lot of things that, of course, even though I have my sales background in Colombia, here is another country, another language, another company, and the portfolio of products change anyway. Even though it's same industry, it changes, and of course, you need to be humble and it's getting started from level zero anyway. So this is how my process started.
Yeah. And for those who may don't know, Endress and Hauser, tell a bit about what exactly you're doing. What are you selling? What kind of industry are they in, and then the type of customers you're dealing with typically.
Mm-hmm. So Endress is a company that sell instrumentation and automation. So we sell up sort of main or important variables to control processes, industrial processes. So we are talking about flow, level, also temperature, liquid analysis. So this is all the variables that in an industry you gotta measure to make sure the process is running well. So any sort of industry, let's talk about mining, oil and gas, chemical, food and bev, also water, wastewater, all of them need instrumentation and also the integration in their control system. So this is what Endress provides.
And how sort of technical is that conversation with those customers? How sort of technically minded and technically sort of switched on do you feel like you need to be able to speak to someone within a mining company or a manufacturing company? Those customers that you're dealing with.
Okay, so when I started Endress as an internal, I worked for mining, oil and gas, and chemical. So this role was pretty okay. You gotta speak to customers over the phone. So I started to build my knowledge in mining, mainly. because in Colombia we don't have any, like, yeah, we have mining industry, but here in Australia it's stronger.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, the dynamic is different. So I got to learn more. And in that time, like, I started to build my knowledge and start to speak to customers over the phone. Then recently, just started this new role as an external sales. In that position, I changed the industry because this was the opportunity given to me. It was not mining, it was food and bev, and also water, wastewater. So this is now what I'm doing in terms of industry focus. It's more food and bev and water, wastewater. If you got a good background of mining and oil and gas, food and bev is a bit easier if you compare, because mining, oil and gas, they have like a pretty complex process.
Yeah.
Food and bev, of course, is complex. You gotta keep in mind a lot of things that in mining you don't. For example, the hygienic applications, that all the compliance. It's more strict in food and bev, but also in oil and gas, for example, they requires a lot of material pressure certificates. So you gotta understand these requirements. So when you go over the phone with customers, you need to really understand what they need, if their application requires certain certificates, or what actually is the scope of work to be able to help them. So of course it gets pretty technical, and
Yeah.
this is what you are made of. Like, you got your engineering background, and this is how you apply all the basics of uni plus all the applications in the real field.
Mm. Yeah, because I know you've got a degree, background in chemical engineering.
Yeah.
How much does that help you? Do you think in the role, and how important is that to your success so far that you've had?
Mm. Oh, it's pretty important. I'm not saying that you gotta always be an engineer, like pretty technical or so. You got your technical background, but also you need to have your soft skills. So sales is a role that helps you out to upgrade your soft skills that
Yeah.
probably when you are in unis, I don't know how the bachelor degree in certain universities, but not necessarily help you to develop your soft skills. So of course, the chemical engineering background helps me a lot to understand the process itself. Like, we see in chemical engineering something like all the unit operations, that it's basically how you transform raw materials into a final product. So the understanding on all these unit operations that lead to this final product, it's what you study in chemical engineering, with all the physical and chemical um, um, analysis of each process. So this helps me a lot, because when a customer needs a certain level of applications with instrumentation focus, this is how I bring all these background of understanding of the chemical and physical processes I learned from uni, to be able to help them with their application. It's helped me in general to understand customers' application,
Yeah.
but also Endress provides you all the knowledge from your colleagues, and also certain workshops they always run to keep you up to date with the information and be able to be a good consultant.
Yeah, gotcha. And if you sort of an opportunity for you to reflect a little bit on, your 4 or so years now that you've been with Endress and Hauser, in the sales profession, how do you sort of reflect on that? What have been some of maybe your main or some big successes, things you're proud of in the role so far?
Oh, okay. One of the things I'm really proud of is the trust that I started to building from the beginning in Endress, and they finally decided to help me out with my visa process. So currently I'm an Australian citizen, but it was a great help from Endress.
Yeah.
So when I started in 2019, I give basically whatever I could provide as a professional and also at a personal level to that to Endress. I was full of motivation, still I am, but I full of motivation on showing all my technical background and also being really humble to learn new things with them, keep all the energy within the team, within the sales team, to help keep the targets. And I developed this connection with my boss, with all the managers, and they decided to help me out with my visa process. So I ended up being PR through this pathway with Endress. So this is something that made me
Yeah.
feel really proud. Like they actually look at me as a good part of their staff member to be able to sponsor me and keep me in the country to keep doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot. The same with my company because it's I got my um, sponsorship and permanent residency through my company, and it's I think the word you used, trust, it was there and built between myself and employer because I like to sort of I worked hard initially for them to them to back me, and then in return they return that by helping me out with my visa process, and then in return I then continued to work hard. So it was just it worked. Is it a good example? And I guess the same for you of like where it can work for both parties, and that trust was built so that they trust you to work hard and deliver, and then in the same they'll repay you with this sort of stuff. So I think that's great. That's great to hear. If you sort of reflect a little bit on those years as well, obviously I imagine it's not all been highs. What sort of challenges have you faced in the role, things that have maybe got you a little bit stuck at times, main sort of problems you faced? What can you sort of tell me about that?
Okay, so of course, yeah, it's really hard to join again the industry when I arrived here to Australia in this was 2016. I couldn't start my career as an engineer here because at least when you come from Colombia, you have only the rights to work 20 hours. So
Yeah.
I came here with my partner as a students. So you have 20 hours to work, and no one in the professional field will be interested in
Yeah.
giving you this opportunity with 20 hours of work. There's some cases I heard some people that companies they are quite flexible and at least maybe the role can be adjusted to 20 hours a week, but in my case, no. So I have to do a lot of things, nothing related to engineering during 3 years. Then when I jumped to this role of in Endress and Hauser, it was because my partner Oscar, he studied a master. So this gave me the full-time rights to work. And then I started to apply to sales engineering positions, and Endress helped me out with this one. They hired me, they liked my profile. Also considering I worked in Colombia for one of their competitors, so they liked my profile and said, okay, come here and start to work with us. So it was really hard for me to, after 3 years of not even talking about engineering,
Yeah. Yeah.
start again.
Yeah.
And in another culture, another country, and a second language for me. So it was real hard. And also I didn't have that knowledge in terms of getting to know the industry itself, even the name of the customers. I didn't know much. So it was like started again and being really humble. And yeah, like when you have your background, of course, it touched your ego. Like, yeah, but I knew this in Colombia. I felt really
Mm.
well working in Colombia with the customers. But no, Karen, this is not Colombia. This is Australia. Just settle down and start again, and actually learn almost from zero. Because when you have this clear mind and not really a bias, I think you learn better. So yeah, you need to just start again and
Yeah.
actually accept that this is a process and you gotta start from zero level and then you can upgrade on the way.
Yeah, yeah, not easy. I can imagine.
Nah.
Really, really challenging. I can completely see that. What if you just reflect a little bit? You know, when you guys moved from Colombia to Australia, what was the initial reason? I think I did talk to Oscar about this, but why did you guys decide that maybe it's time for a change? Let's relocate to Australia. When you did that, how did that all sort of play out?
Okay, so we actually made that decision. I say we, but actually Oscar was the first person that say I want to move to Australia
Okay.
because we have a boss. He was really good at English. Like he had studied in London, and when someone in Colombia came back from any country from overseas with really good English, actually, it's impressive how he can communicate with other people. Okay, so we work for a competitor. They were based in US, and we have a lot of training with them, 100% in English. And our boss back that time, he was the leader of this conversation, and he looks pretty confident in English. But we didn't. But at the time we said like, oh, it will be nice to level up to that point when you can actually understand pretty well English and have a conversation technically and also like normal like conversation with fluency. uh, Oscar told me I really need to boost myself and go to any other country and learn English. Because in Colombia, if you go to school, it's pretty poor. What you learn is pretty basic, like to be, verb, and that's it. And it's not unless you come from a bilingual school. This is another story, but level our level social level class in English in Colombia. Sorry, it's not hard. I'm coming from a medium low class, so it's really difficult to access to a bilingual school. So Oscar said, why not? We try to do the same that our boss did it in London, but in Australia, because in Australia you can work 20 hours. So it helps a lot with the economically if you are able to work. So I say like, yeah, why not? I always wanted to travel, go overseas by first time in my life. So yeah, let's do it, and we did it. Also, in Colombia, it's really hard to get by. Basically, the social, political, economical situation it's not favorable as you can see it here in Australia. In Australia, you might struggle in certain way. It's not always 100% perfect, but if you compare, it's another story. Australia brings you a lot of opportunities. And if you have a professional background, especially in engineering, I can see that you can have a really good salary and also your lifestyle changes a lot. So this is what this trigger inside out this need to move to a new country.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And what about maybe if there's someone listening who's maybe based in Colombia or anywhere, maybe looking to relocate and start a new life like you have, and or even has moved and is struggling? What advice would you give that person to maybe either make the jump or stick it out and try and like you have build a new life for yourself overseas? What would you tell that person?
Oh, I think like believe in the process, because not necessarily you will be at that level you left in your country. So you not necessarily will start again like being if you're I don't know an accountant or I don't know engineer or any profession you used to do in Colombia. Not necessarily you will start again here exactly at that social level status that you have in Colombia. So, but if you're humble, you accept your situation and you believe in the process, you can achieve good things. Of course, you need to set your goals up. If you don't have goals clear in your mind, you can actually draw the path to get to that goals. So with Oscar, this is something that both of us, when we arrived, we don't say that we were perfect from the beginning because we didn't know we wanted to stay. When you just move, you don't know anything about the country. You don't know how the social situation is here for immigrants. But when you start to understand that, and then you start to write down your goals, in our case was like a couple goals, then we start to get in contact with migration agents that actually help us to understand the path and what were all the requirements to get to that target, to hit that target in our life, to that it was being professionals here in Australia, do all the validation of our bachelor degree. So yeah, it's basically I will advise everyone to actually understand what you want and write down these goals
Mm.
and set up all the strategies to lead you to that goals. Otherwise, you can be lost, and if you don't get that discipline to actually follow what you have written down in terms of getting to that point of hit this target, yeah, it will be difficult. But it's all about discipline too, and this is
Yeah.
something that I learned in Australia a lot, like being disciplined. When everyone is drinking, hanging out, and doing a lot of things that occurs, you gotta do it in your life. But sometimes you have to say no. I need to complete my assessment, for example,
Yeah.
for Engineers Australia, because this is something that will help me out in the future.
Mm.
So it's actually to prioritize what will help you out to hit your goals.
How was someone maybe because I completely agree, by the way, the key to achieving any sort of goal is having that discipline and sticking at it and not giving up. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But if there's someone who is trying to improve their self discipline, how does someone actually do that? How would you advise someone, if they did have a goal but they were struggling to sort of stick to the path of getting that? How would you sort of advise someone be more disciplined?
Okay.
Can you be more disciplined? Do you think?
Mm-hmm. So I'm not perfect. Of course, I'm learning every day. I think from another person will be another advice, but from my point of view, my experience, I think is get rid of excuses. If you have a lot of excuses, you won't do anything. So I can tell from my personal experience with gym, I hate doing exercise a lot, and I hate it. But my Oscar started a gym 2.5 years ago. He got an amazing transformation in his body, and he pushed me a lot to go to gym. And I said, no, Oscar, I don't care about gym. And I was a bit workaholic by that time. I said, like, no, and I'm pretty busy and I have a lot of things to do and I don't care about it and I feel okay like this. And Oscar said, okay. But he started all the time this conversation to push me like a bit more every day to trigger that need inside me to go to gym. I finally, actually, he convinced me and I ended up going and now I go 6 times, 5 times a week. And when I'm really tired, I don't know, 5, 6 p.m. finishing work, say, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go. I just want to get home, have a good meal and just have a rest. I say, no, Karen, but this is not discipline. Just
Mm.
get off this office and go to gym, like, and it's just 1 hour of your time. It's not like 10 hours. It's just 1 hour a day, and it brings you the difference in your mindset, also
Yeah.
in your body. And but of course you need to stop and with the excuses. If you have excuses, I feel tired, I don't know, I feel whatever, like I don't feel motivated. No, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow, no. If you start today, of course, you will do it every
Yeah.
single day. But I didn't have this mindset back that time when I said to Oscar, I don't want to go gym. But finally, I get to that point, and then
Yeah.
say discipline. You actually develop this discipline by understanding your goals and get rid of excuses.
Yeah. It's showing up when you don't want to show up. It's you like you said, it's going like you didn't want to go to the gym, but like you did. And then you obviously normally feel better after that. So that's to
Mm-hmm.
me what it is. Like it's just you don't want to show up, you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. And you just
Mm-hmm.
put in another rep, and you just put in a little bit. You just get a little bit closer to your goals. That's yeah. And I think the excuses is, getting rid of the excuses and just if you look at what the excuse is, and then you can just like break it down, as in um, I don't have time for the like you say for the gym, for example. But then it's like, hang on, if I just did this, actually the excuse is often you can void it in your mind, and that's how you start to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Totally.
you talk about how Oscar has pushed you in those particular examples a few times. I know you talk about as well about setting goals together. He's told me you guys had a little. I think most Sundays you sit down, have a little. You block out a bit of time for working towards your goal, personal development, whatever. It can be anything. How important is that to your? Do you feel like to the success you've had since moving over here, and just in general? Why is that such an important ritual to you guys? Do you feel?
Oh, yeah, this is pretty important because it's not just for your professional life, also for your personal life. So we did the vision board. Actually, all of this has been pushed by Oscar. He made the actual initial step, and I really appreciate. I have this. I've been building a good process with him as a couple, but
Yeah.
also he's sort of a coach for me too, because he brings really good motivation
Yeah.
to my life and good ideas, and he has been helping me to bring a better version of myself. So this is pretty good. I'm really
Yeah.
grateful I'm with him.
Yeah.
So basically, with these sessions we have together, we try to understand our financial situation and also our goals. And before I changed to this role in Endress, we were also analyzing a path to upgrade our role in the companies we were in, and it's basically to write down a draft of what you want, and also every time set up your goals. This is important. If you don't know what you want to achieve, it's difficult to actually uh, focus on something, because what you want in life, if you don't know, it's really difficult to
Yeah.
carry on with things. So
Yeah.
this helps us to understand what we want and how to achieve these goals.
And we talk about setting goals for yourself. We talked a little bit about your past. We talked about what you're doing currently. If you look towards the future a little bit now, what are some of your career goals? I know it's not always hard to predict these things, but what can I maybe expect to see from you in the next few years? What are you working towards at the moment? What does the future look like for Karen?
Oh, it's a tough question because, of course, like you have a lot of goals, but you don't know exactly the best way to get there. Uh, but it's basically keep doing what we're doing, develop this discipline, uh, every day, basically develop a better version of yourself professionally and personally. And I think that success is actually when you feel calm and happy in life. This is what I define success. If you are happy with what you're doing, more than, of course, you gotta be ambitious, but are you really happy with what you're doing? This is a question that every day you should ask yourself. Like, when you feel trapped in a situation or a role or whatever, you don't feel like it belongs to you, this won't bring you any happiness to your life. It will
Mm.
be really frustrated. So success for me, it is being at this state when you actually feel calm and happy. You don't have any things that make you feel frustrated or disappointed with your life. It's just being at
Yeah.
this stage in life when you say, okay, I feel really fulfilled. I'm happy with my family, with my job, and nothing is perfect. But if you have this calm mind, uh, definitely you are at this stage when you actually have achieved success in your life because you feel really fulfilled with what you're doing.
Well, you just answered my last question there. I was getting with the
Okay.
idea of success, but it sounds like just sort of going to bed at the end of the day, knowing that you're sort of happy with what you do. You sort of gave everything you've got, and you feel just sort of at peace with how you spent your time. Is that right? Is that sort of
Yeah,
what you were getting at? Yeah.
yeah, totally. This is so important to have your mind in calm and peace. And actually, talking about that, we recently started to work to join a meditation center. So we are doing a lot of meditation recently, and it helps a lot to actually start your day with a clear mind. And this state of mind, when let's say like inner peace, it helps you throughout the day to actually face any challenge you will have. So meditation is something that I actually recommend a lot to everyone. This is something that I'm doing it every day before bed, and this helps me uh, to build this inner peace. And next day, your mind will be set up to face any challenge or so. So
And is that a recent thing, that meditation?
yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
right.
2 months ago,
Okay. Yeah.
and it was we didn't know we have a meditation center like 20 minutes away from home. So yeah, we actually walk there, and we go every week on Tuesday. They have a session of free meditation. It's nothing about religion or so. It's something to actually train your brain to focus on your breathing and actually understand yourself. And also they help you a lot about be kind to others. So there's meditation also like kindness. So it's something that is not just for you, it's actually to build your best version and understand others, and also how you can help others and behave better every day.
Mm, love it. Karen Buitrago, muchas gracias for joining me on the show. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Really inspiring story, especially coming over to Australia, starting again. Anyone who's listening to that who is thinking about maybe making a move, Karen has just dropped a load of great insight there, and I think it's a really great story. And I've got to take my hat off to everything you've done. You're doing some really cool stuff. So, Karen, thank you again for sharing, and thank you for coming on my show. Really appreciate it, Karen.
Thank you,
Take it
Joel.
easy.
No, I'm pretty happy with the invite. Yeah, so yeah, I'm happy to share my experience, and if this helps others to actually bring this motivation, I'm pretty happy to do it.
Thank you very much, Karen. Take it easy.
Okay, have a lovely rest of the day. Bye bye.